board games are not necessarily cheap. And I think like being able to get the best bang for your buck is something fantastic.
Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
And today we're going to tell you about some games that we love to recommend.
8 in particular.
And why 8?
Because we're celebrating a milestone today. 8,000 subscribers.
Thank you to each and every one of you for being here. It's a lot of fun to share games with friends, not just nobody.
Yeah, and you always got to remember the Lady Gaga quote. If there was 8,000 people in this room.
Only one of them has to believe in you?
Exactly.
I thought you were going to say abracadabra, here's the games. Well, how did we decide this list?
Okay, this is an interesting one because this list is catered for our friend groups, I guess. And some of our friend groups have gotten more and more into games, but these are often games that they'll come to us, ask what they should get in order for them to play like without us, essentially. And I think these are the games that we are very often recommending.
Why would anyone play without us?
I mean, I don't know. We have to let them explore the hobby on their own and invite more people in, because that's the whole point of this channel.
Only with me.
No. No.
Yeah, I think to add to it, these are also very different type of games.
They are, yes.
That we try to come across kind of different sections. The best feeling in the world is when you recommend a game and people actually play it, people actually love it, and they recommend it to others.
Yeah. And they go out and buy it.
Exactly. And I think all of these games have in some way captured that one way or another for us. So I'm sure you've played many of these, but if you have not, please do. And without further ado, we're going to tell you about them.
Well, with further ado, because if you have played these games, these should be recommended to some of your friends who maybe don't necessarily play as many board games as you do.
Recommend them. Also, we might do a little giveaway at the end of the video, so stick around.
Yeah, because 10 is better than 8.
Whoosh.
Oops.
Our first game on our list is Calico. This is one of my favorite games in general, but I love recommending it for the sheer simplicity and the cozy theme and nature of the game as well.
Yeah.
You're making quilts and attracting cats and buttons to come onto your quilts. Who doesn't want to do that? But the really fun aspect of it is every turn you're choosing one of the 2 tiles and you're placing on your board trying to meet objectives of that kind of puzzly nature. I think anyone who really likes a little bit of a brain crunch, a little bit of pattern building, and just success in your little quilt, you would enjoy this game. And then twist, twist, twist. At the end of the game, your brain starts crunching, nothing starts working, all the cats are fleeing, and there's a little bit of sabotage.
Exactly. Yeah, and just to add to that, is Calico is like one of those games where I think it's very inviting initially. It does get puzzle burny at the end, but that's what's interesting about the game is it like gradually builds up so that people can kind of focus on the goals and the patterns of what's already existing, but then like dive into that idea of like, it's not always going to be perfect, or how do I make it better? What's the best scoring opportunity that I can capture for it? Like, there's always going to be something that is like more challenging. And I think that's interesting from a decision space, but also not too complicated, that it makes people come back for more.
I think that's like a slogan of life.
What?
I can't make the best of it. Not everything's going to be perfect. What can I do to make the best of it?
I mean, yeah.
That's life, and that is Calico, our first recommendation.
Next up, we have what I would consider the most classic of the games here, and it is a game called Azul. This is an abstract strategy game where you're going to be drafting different tiles and placing them onto your board, hoping that you collect enough sets to be able to move them over into your scoring zone. Now, the scoring zone is really interesting in this game, as you're going to want to create like contiguous groups, and you'll score more points for that. The nice thing about this game is, again, it introduces some mechanics that are like relatively simple, but the layers that it adds in terms of the decisions you need to make, and then the way that you can evolve throughout playing the game multiple times is fantastic.
You can never go wrong with Azul. I feel like it's become a staple in the board game world. There's also many different versions of it.
Yes.
So you can kind of scale out complexity. There's a travel version you can bring. And an element of this game I really enjoy is the learning of sabotagery. Because every now and then you can say, I could lose 2 points, but then this player will lose 8. Or I could do the right thing. And then you, of course, do the sabotage, which is fun.
Yeah, it's these subtle take-thats that you grow to actually play in Azul that you would not necessarily play, I think, right off the bat.
No.
And there you have it. That's Azul.
Now we get the question a lot of like, what type of games do you and Tyler play? Like, where do we go? And we often mention Garfield games and worker placement games and some of those strategy 2-3 hour games. And I think a fantastic place to start with those is Architects of the West Kingdom.
I agree.
There's no title in the box because this is the collector's edition, but you can see the title
on the side.
Now, this game, in essence, is a worker placement game. And I think it's a great introductory to it because it has that really fun mechanic of if you place one worker, you get one thing. And if you place two workers, you typically get two things.
Yes.
And it kind of scales up the more workers that you have. And there's a fun element of sending other players' workers to jail.
Exactly. Yes.
So I think those two elements hook people right away. Of like, hey, I can get more and more and kind of put more of my people in here and get so much gold. But then I can send people to jail, and there's a really fun player interaction element of it. And in general, it teaches you a lot of the ways that worker placement games work in a really, really fun and dynamic way.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I think similar to what I said to Azul is like you're going to be essentially just discovering the game as you go. The best part about it, like Ilya said, is on your turn, all you're doing is placing a worker, and the actions that the workers present to you, depending on where you go, are relatively straightforward. It's now learning how to piece all of that together, time everything right, whether or not you're supposed to send people to jail, whether or not you're supposed to collect your own workers back. Like there's these decisions that end up evolving your strategy, and then you learn more and more as you go on. Another point to this is there is like a I can't remember the exact name now, the evil trap. Like you can go down in a reputation.
Yeah.
You can
Bad
go
reputation,
down.
or you can be very good.
Exactly. And there's something to be said about you have to like give up a little and be maybe a little bad to then be good at the end of the game. And I think like that balance is really good. Or you could take the strategy of where actually being bad can really, really pay off. You just have to make sure you get past the negative points at the end of the game.
Gotta be a little bad to be a little bit good.
Exactly. And there you have it, Architects.
Now, board games are art at the table.
They are art at the table.
And sometimes you just gotta enjoy every little piece that a board game brings to you and the production quality and the experience that's putting out in front of you. That's why our next recommendation is Parks. Now, Parks, I feel like, is like the staple for like the production value of how gorgeous the Keymaster Games just does such a phenomenal job with all of this.
I will say right before you get into it is that this is the newest edition. There's an older edition that is just as beautiful. It's just the revamped is like a cleaner version of what the first edition was, and it's got some. I think they've connected the some of the expansions into the base game of the second edition as well.
So this game is really interesting because it takes nature and hiking as a core mechanic of the game. And boy, oh boy, do you get to explore the various national parks across North America. And you get to do so in a fun mechanical way.
Yes.
Every time we've showed this game to folks, they've been blown away. They are really intrigued that games can do this. They can look like this. They can feel like this. And I think that's a really fun element of any game.
Yeah, and like even that is, I think what it comes down to is like a theme can really draw people into the hobby, and I think Parks does a really good job at drawing people in who have been to these national parks or who are avid hikers. There's things that like you wouldn't expect necessarily, like these two things come together, but here they are together and done well.
And I think I'll add that theme can draw people in, but execution of theme can keep
100%.
people in.
Yeah.
Because you can't say, oh, that's a really interesting theme, I'll play that game. But if the game nails that theme, you're going to come back to it again and again and recommend it to people and show it to people like we are today.
Yeah, exactly.
Parks.
Parks. All right, next up we have a game that I think is perfect for your home. It's called Welcome to just that. It's just called Welcome to.
Well,
but it says Welcome to your
perfect home.
Yeah. But as we refer to it, it is a Welcome to game, and it is what you would call a flip and write. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be selecting different cards out of the 3 possible selections, and you're going to be writing these numbers down into this piece of paper to create your neighborhood. Now there's a bunch of different scoring and actions that are involved in this game, but what this does is it introduces a completely new mechanic from what we've talked about in the other games, where you are taking an action or taking something and then writing it down. And that is an entire genre on its own that we absolutely love.
Now, this game I feel like is a classic in the roll and rate and flip and write community too,
Yes, yeah.
because you're building your own neighborhood. It's very relatable. Is this place going to have a pool? Are you going to gate these as a neighborhood and fence these areas in? Are you going to have some construction? You can learn what you do. But connecting iconography to the numbers and making the best of it is a really core essence of a lot of flip and writes and roll and writes. So this is a great introduction to a genre that Tyler and I particularly really enjoy. Having played over 100 roll and flip and writes.
And the fun part about this game in particular is you can play with any number of people. You just have to make sure everybody has a sheet of paper that is part of this. So if you have, I mean, we did it for COVID, for basically, we would play it online and people would be able to just look at the selections and then we'd all be able to take the actions. And it's a lot of fun to see a larger group of people be able to come together and play a game that is got some crunchy thinking and fun combos.
That's welcome too. Now next up we have a game that absolutely put Tyler and I in awe when we first started getting into the hobby. And that is Mysterium.
Yeah!
Now this is a cooperative game and where you are trying to communicate with the ghost, the entity, the medium.
The folks who were murdered.
To figure out who actually was murdered in this whole grand scheme of things. And it's really neat because every turn there's a player who's a ghost. And
every game there's a player who's a ghost. Yeah.
There's a player who is a ghost and they'll be giving clues to the other players of who did it, where they did it, and with what item. And how they'll give clues is through visions of cards. Yes. And it's really fun because you're trying to narrow everything down as you go. And the ghosts, it's stressful to be the ghost, but you can also enjoy the thematic elements of it. I love making sure that the ghost cannot talk. So in order to confirm if the clue is correct, they have to knock twice. We played this game so many times when we first got it. And there's iterations of it as well, like Mysterium Park, that is a little bit of a smaller box, quicker experience. But it's a fantastic experience. And if it's a game that you have not yet played, I would definitely encourage you to do so.
Yeah, the way I like to think about this one is it's like Clue, but a little more elevated, and there's more like teamwork going on, because in Clue, like, obviously you're trying to be the first person that gets it done, so this is like a co-op version of it. The art is absolutely stunning in this game, and the best part about it is, like, you can play it once, and then whoever was the ghost, they can play the ghost again, or you can switch and have that game play completely different. And it's always interesting to see what kind of art you come up with, what people interpret versus what you thought or hoped that they were going to interpret. And I love that.
Just send visions in Mysterium.
Next up, we have another game that was actually just redone. Yeah, and it has been a blast to play this, but also the original, because we loved it, and it's called Quacks. This is also a new mechanic from the games that we've been recommending, and it's a bag builder. This is a lot of fun as you'll learn how to, like, resource optimize essentially and push your luck. And that's what's a lot of fun about this game is at a certain point, or during the game I guess, because there's 9 rounds I believe, you'll be taking these rounds, and at the start it's actually kind of nice to just push and see how far you can get so that you can build your bag up to be even better for the next rounds. And then sometimes it can really pay off in the end. So it's always interesting, that like give and take, those decisions that you have to make. And yeah.
I think this one really soars from the idea of it's really different than anything out there. Yeah. Like the idea of everyone just reaching into a bag at the same time, pulling something out and doing something with it. It's different. We're not rolling dice and moving a pawn. We are all making our cauldrons of various ingredients, hoping to score the most points. And I think that progression and making your deck bigger and bigger, or your bag, bigger and bigger, putting more ingredients in, finding the combinations of different scoring, it's just so much fun. And with different modularity between everything, it's just... And I will say, this edition comes with the acrylic pieces, and they're so nice to just like...
They are very
wiggle
very
around.
Nice. Yeah, I will just mention again that Ilya said the modularity of this game. This has a lot of replayability, and I think amongst all of the games that we've talked about today, that replayability is really important when we do think about recommending games to anybody, because board games are not necessarily cheap. And I think like being able to get the best bang for your buck is something fantastic. I think Quacks does a good job at presenting this fun, exciting, different mechanic, but also being able to play it in a bunch of different ways in different sets is really, really important. And for that.
And this is obviously the all-in edition. There's a much smaller box that has just as much game in it that you can check out too.
Exactly. And there you go. That's Quacks.
Now, to end things off, I will introduce the best party game of all time, which is Fun Facts from Casper Lab.
Hey.
Now, this game is also a cooperative game. And what you're doing is you're cooperatively trying to score the most points while learning the most about each other. There's going to be questions that are asked, and you're going to be trying to answer them and guess where every other player is in accordance to you and each other.
Yeah.
And the better that you do that, the more points that you'll score. But the heart of this game is really, you're still playing a game, you're still trying to score a lot of points. But the conversations that follow each of the prompts is a great way to really get to know people, to build a relationship, to strengthen relationships, or to meet somebody and really discover them for the first time. This game has so much replayability, you always want to come back to it, and it just does such a good job of bringing people together.
Yeah, here's the thing with Fun Facts is, like Ilya said, is you can kind of play it with a bunch of different people. I like to say it's probably one of the best icebreaker games out there, and one of the great examples, outside of like bringing it to like a work event where you're trying to get to know everybody a bit better, is we taught this at a Learn and Play at PAX Unplugged one year, and literally the tables were filled with, maybe you knew one other person at the table, but there were 6 people at the table, and people were still going around having these conversations, learning a little bit more about each other, while also doing really well in this hierarchy that they were trying to create. And I thought it was like super interesting to see that evolve, because from the first question, people started to maybe like lean into what that question had provided and then make guesses or assumptions. Maybe that's not the right word.
Judgments.
But you're making guesses based on like the information that you've been provided, and that is really interesting to see evolve as you play throughout the game, especially when everybody at the table doesn't necessarily have a good grasp of each other.
Exactly. Definitely try this one out if you have not had the chance. It's a joy for us to introduce it to others. And if you ever see us, play with us, because we likely have it on us.
That's true. We take it everywhere, really. All right.
That has been Fun Facts. 8 doesn't feel that good.
8 doesn't feel that good. That's why we're going to go and talk about a couple more.
2 more.
2 more.
Which?
Do you want to bring both of them out? Or do you
no,
want to
one
bring
at a time.
All right. Let's talk about this one.
We have 1 AM Jailbreak. So this one introduces a whole new concept called card shedding.
Yes.
You essentially have a lot of cards in your hand, and you want to have no cards in your hand. And you'll do this by playing cards into the center. Now, this one's really fun because it introduces a bunch of different rules and variants, but with the art and the whole theme of it of trying to escape jail with your folks, it's just a blast to have at a table.
It's just one of those things where like a lot of people play card games and don't necessarily see the layer below it. 1 AM Jailbreak is a dive into that, and I think that's a lot of fun. It's only played in 3 rounds, so it's really, really quick, and you can always get to another game afterwards, whether it be this or something else. And yeah, it's just amazing to kind of see it go onto the table, play really quick, and then feel like you kind of get screwed over at some point. But that is what it is.
That is the nature of card games, and it is going to happen. Hence, that is 1 AM Jailbreak.
Let's leave this one over there. And we will talk about the next one.
Which is?
Called Ovation.
So this one introduces a mechanic that we actually haven't talked about in the other ones either.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is engine building. Now, what is engine building, Tyler?
Well, basically, in general, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be gathering resources or cards in this game to put into your tableau. You'll use those cards more and more as the game progresses, and the turns will start out like pretty slow, and you won't be able to do a whole bunch, but then as you progress through the game, these cards that you've collected and managed to like add to your board will make the turns even longer, more exciting, and you'll really have to like plan through how you are going to go through that pattern and sequence of making sure your actions are done correctly.
Exactly. Well, in Ovation, you are doing all of that, but in a musical theme. You have your little piano that has your resources you'll try to gain through drafting various cards. But you're able to do more and more because you'll tuck cards above the board, and then you're able to have performances of a lifetime that you'll do based on the cards that you have.
Yeah, what's really interesting, like I said about this whole engine building thing, is you'll start off with drafting like characters that don't necessarily seem too powerful, especially based on the next level characters that you can see, but you'll be able to grab them, use them, and then next turn when you take another action, it's awesome to see that all of a sudden you don't have to use a worker to take, or two workers to take two separate actions. You've now created this engine that will give you both of the actions or generate these resources for you to be able to finish that musical, what's the word I'm looking for? The piece, the symphony. Yeah, and you'll score through that. And then the interesting part about that is everything is related to the resources that you are being able to generate, and you'll score points for collecting those resources on the cards that you are going for, while also getting these goals that will help support your engine at the end of the game by ultimately pushing you in a direction to score yourself more points through that.
It's so much fun. And I think that whole feeling of being able to do a little bit in the beginning of the game, but then be able to do more and more, it's kind of like bag building, but here you're just building an engine.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like...
I guess bag building
well.
is kind of engine building. I don't know.
It is sort of like engine building. It's more chaotic engine building.
It is more chaotic because you just don't know.
Exactly.
But with that said, that is Ovation. Now you may be wondering, Tyler, Ilya, why have you not played these games? The little plastic wrap is still on them.
Shrink wrap is still on them? That is correct.
We saran wrap them.
Yeah.
For safety, obviously.
Just kidding. We didn't. We have a couple extra copies that we are very excited to be able to give away to you folks. But, of course, there are rules that you need to follow and comments that need to be made. So, what do we got?
Well, first of all, we want to say thank you.
Oh, yeah.
For being here. The reason we're giving these games away is we want to celebrate the community that we've built so far. You've been with us for almost 5 years, some of you.
Yes.
And some of you have been with us for a day. And we just really appreciate it because we get to come down here, we get to tell you about the games that we love, and we get to hear about all your stories with the games. And it always completely makes our days. We have a Discord community where we talk about the games that we played over the weekends, and we share pictures and we share stories. And I think that community building element of it and just hearing experiences of other people's games, there's nothing really like it. I will say, like, one of the reasons we got into this, and you've heard the story many times, I'm sure, is I love the feeling of showing somebody a game and then they secretly pull out their phone and they're trying to find it online to buy it for themselves. Like, anytime that happened, it's just the best feeling because you're able to spread something that you enjoy so much. And that's what we've been able to get to do for a long time now, and we're just really, really grateful for it.
Yeah, and we do have to just, I will just say this, that like, we do this because it's fun. We find it interesting, we find it rewarding, but me and Ilya work full-time jobs. Like, we don't do this as a job. I mean, it's offered us lots of opportunities, and we're super grateful for that, but we wouldn't be able to do that without the help of you folks. And for that, we are always so thankful.
Exactly. So now, in order to enter the giveaway, we're going to keep it very simple. All you have to do is leave a comment down below answering our question of the day. And you don't have to answer the question of the day. You can just leave a comment.
Oh,
for fun.
Easy peasy.
But the question of the day for today is, what game do you love recommending to people who are first getting into board games?
Yeah.
And why?
Why? There you go. Yeah.
Now, for other giveaway rules and please read the description. It'll have all the fine print, maybe specific geographical restrictions. We'll throw all of that in there. You can read through it. You can learn more about it. Maybe there's some other fun stuff in the description. Who knows what's in that thing? Take a look.
Who knows? I definitely don't.
And that has been our video of the top 8 plus 2, so top 10 games that we like to recommend to folks.
To clarify, they're separate giveaways. So one person will win Ovation, one person will win 1 AM Jailbreak. And I mean, maybe if you're super lucky, you'll win both, but...
Are you going to leave that many comments?
Yeah.
No, because you should have read the fine print and it's only 1 comment per person.
Ooh, 1 entry per person. Yeah, you're right. You can comment as much as you want.
I guess. Well, thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you
in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.